In this video, I'll be using Photo Mechanic and Capture One to work on my pictures. Let us see how fast I can be on it. So first of all, we took these pictures and I'll just drag and drop the folder here in Photo Mechanic. Now, if you don't know what Photo Mechanic is used for, it is used to select pictures or to separate selected pictures already. Unfortunately, I didn't select any picture here in the camera. But if you want to know how to use Photo Mechanic deeply and how to select pictures in the camera, I have a video for it over here, so you can go and check them and see what you can do with it. So right now I have the pictures all here, and as you can see, the poses are quite similar, so there won't be much to select here. I'm just going to select a couple of pictures for each pose and then go ahead with the next. And if you're familiar with my channel, you should know this face by now. So let me start from the first part. The first picture, I open it by double clicking on it. So this picture is obviously blurry, so I keep on going. I think we're still on the settings here. So I'll go through a couple of all these pictures and see the ones that are good. By the way, if I want to see if there is anyone I've already selected, I press Ctrl T for that. Unfortunately, there is none that was already selected. So I'll be going through this set of pictures to see which one is best. So this is a new pose, so I'll go back to this and I will choose from the list. I like this, but there is also this. I think I will choose this rather than this. Yeah, this is much better. The legs are more relaxed here than here. As you can see, this place is a bit hanging compared with this one that is on the floor itself. You can see there's no space in between. Over here there is this space in between, which looks a bit awkward. These ones are blurry, so I will go with this and this for this set. I think also this one makes sense as well, but it's very similar to this one, so I might just decide on which one of them to go with later. I think I'll still go with the one I went with already, this one. Then on to the next. So we have this, all this here. I'll go with this one. As you can see, anyone I'm going with, I mark it here by pressing the T button on your keyboard. So if I don't want it, I'll press T again to unmark it. So anyone I say I'll go with, automatically here will be marked or selected. I think among these three, I would go with one of them. I prefer this one. And then this one for the last of it all. So we have this with her finger holding her jaw or beneath her jaw. We have this, her finger beneath her jaw but eyes closed, and then we have this, her palm, her jaw in her palm, eyes open. Of course, we have a couple of pictures to select, about 128 or 38 of them to be precise. It would be better that I just run through them and pick the selections I will need, and then I will see you in Capture One. Before we get into Capture One, I will have to move all these pictures into a different folder, of which I will from there edit them. And to do that, I will press Ctrl T first of all to select all the pictures I selected. So out of 138 pictures, I selected 36 pictures. The other 102 pictures will not be needed here, but 36 pictures is a good number because, as you can see, most of these poses are the same, and we keep on taking and retaking to pick the best shot out of them. So after pressing Ctrl T, the next thing is to press Ctrl Y, and it's going to open up this dialog box where make sure that move folders is selected and clear overwrite option is also selected. This too is meant to be selected, and also this one should be deselected. Clear move photos. This is very important. This shouldn't be selected. This should be selected. In fact, if this is only the thing selected here, there is no problem, but I recommend you select only this and this. Every other thing should be deselected. Leave this whole area the way it is and select create subfolder, and you can give it whatever name you want. In this case, I will use the name select for it because they are the ones I selected, but for clarity's sake I will use her name as well. So this is her name here and her name here. So I will click on move, and it's going to create a subfolder inside this folder, and it is going to pick all those pictures and put it there. So this is the folder it's created here, exactly the same name here, and it is moving all those pictures here. When it is done, it's going to open them here. So as you can see, this is the folder it created, and these are the pictures in it, as you can see there, and they are all selected. Now I'm done with photo mechanic. Let's get into capture one. Now this is capture one, and this is my formal catalog. I will simply take that picture, and this is the folder. So I'll drag this folder, which is select, and drop it into this empty space. It's going to open the import dialog box for me, and all of them are selected. Make sure that from here you can check these settings to make sure that everything is the same with your own. So in my own case, I have the folder it is selecting it from. Of course, there are other folders here, but this is the folder it is selecting the things I'm to import from, and it can ask to include subfolder and exclude duplicates. If you have duplicates, please exclude it. And the next area is import to, where you can add to catalog. So I want to add it to catalog, not copy into catalog. So it will add it to catalog, which means the file will stay where they are. It's not going to move it. It's just going to add it to catalog, and that's all. And collection, recent imports only. I can choose to open all the collections in this folder, or just the recent imports, or the whole selected album. So I want just the recent imports only. And for groups, enable groups is where there are similar pictures. It's going to enable them. So it is analyzing everything now to enable it. I will show you how it works when it is done analyzing it. Now we have 1 of 6. As you can see, all these pictures are similar. They are all lying down. For these ones, they are also similar. These ones, they are similar. You get the point. You get how they work. And yes, this is 1 of 1. It is the only variant in this group, so it is just 1 of 1. And that is it. This will also help you in case you are looking for pictures that are very similar, so that you can work on them separately. This will help you on that. Similarity 75%. If you keep it at 100, the group numbers will reduce, and 100 is only when there are duplicates actually, because 100 means that they are exactly the same. But 75% can mean that there are some differences. They are not exactly the same, but they look alike a lot. So leave it at 75%. Every other thing is just basically information upon information upon information. Nothing else should be touched. The places you should focus on is this top 3. And if yours is as good as mine, then you're good to go. And mind you, enable group is optional. I can choose to turn it off or turn it on. And if it has analyzed it before, there won't be any need to analyze it anymore. So then when you're done, you click on import. It's going to import your pictures into capture one. Now that we have everything imported, the next thing is to start working on the pictures one after the other. Of course not one after the other, but I want you to see something here. So as you can see, this is the histogram, and this picture is relatively okay in the histogram. It's closer to the midtones. The colors peak closer to the midtones, and some are quite bright according to the histogram here, but it looks okay in our eyes. In my eyes, if only. But that being said, let me just select everything using Ctrl A and then click on auto adjust. This is going to help me a lot because it just does majority of the work for me while I do the extra, putting my own touch on it. It saves me time, it saves me effort, and it still makes my picture look like my own picture. So auto adjust, and in 3 seconds it should be done, and it is done. Alright, so now that auto adjust is done, this is how this one looks, this is how this looks, and so on. It is kind of trying to drag everything to the center point. As you can see, the histogram is trying to balance every area around this, so the mountains peak around here in all the pictures. The mountains peak around here in all the pictures. So now what next should I do? I would go with this. I will look for any picture at all. I think I should start with this. Turn down the highlights and the shadows so that it is even much more clearer. And then for the highlights are white, and for the shadows I'll take it up a little so it doesn't look that dark. For the blacks I'll also either bring it up or take it down. Let me see what works best. I think bringing it up a little to the same number is okay. Now this was not scripted, this was not planned. Minus 112, minus 112, but that's how we found it. And saturation, I'll give it a little bit of saturation, maybe 4 or 5. I'll keep it at 5. So I'll keep this at 5. And contrast, I'll add some contrast to it. Now mind you, the histogram is shifting, but not so far from the center, right? And for the brightness, I will reduce the brightness a little. So whatever I'm doing, I don't like going too far beyond 20 or anything like that, but it depends on the pictures, by the way. Then the next thing I'm going to do is over here for the structure and clarity. Now I've showed you how the structure and clarity works. I like the clarity to be low and the structure to be high. That way it's going to make the light softer and the picture sharper. Here's what I mean. So for instance, let me look for a picture that the face comes out better. So yeah, we are closer to the face in this picture, right? That face didn't look well. So we are closer to the face in this picture. Now if I increase the clarity, look at how the light is. The light is kind of harsh, but if I reduce it, the light is much more softer. This is how it is before any clarity was applied. So if I'm going down this way, the light gets soft, but don't go down too much. So let me keep it at 30 in this case. And for the structure, if I increase the structure, the picture shows more texture on the skin, while if I reduce the structure, the texture disappears and the picture becomes even quite blurry. So this is before the structure is added. So I'll add some structure to this. I will keep it at plus 30. This is just my rule. It's not a must that you must do yours like this, minus 30 plus 30, or minus a number plus the same number, but this is just my rule for balance. So in that case, 30 and 30, I will go over to this one and I will set it the same way. So in this case, I'll write minus 30 here and 30 here. That way my pictures look sharper. Now there is also a sharpening setting for this, but we'll come to that afterwards. And then for the luma, I will test if I take this up and bring it down, if it goes better, or if I bring this up and take it down, if it is better. In my case, I think it is better this way, so that these lights will glow well and add a little bit of more contrast to the image. But in everything, I will keep it somehow this way. I think that this is fine. So this was my first option on how to go about it, which isn't bad in itself, at all. And this is the second. Now this is not a rule of how you must make your pictures, but if I must say, I think I prefer going with something light. I wouldn't want the shadows to hide so much, so I will take up this light for the shadows a little, so it's not entirely all dark there and have too much contrast. And I'll bring this down a little as well. At least you know how it works. This was almost not moved. As you can see, it was almost not moved. So you know how it works, and of course you can add even more points anywhere in the picture you choose to add. You can make it something like this. You can even add more. There is no limit to how much points you can add in your picture. All right, so I can do something like this to make it quite different from the ordinary. I can take this up. So we have something like this. This is my first time doing a luma curve this much. And then For this area, I usually don't like touching this area at all, but if I'm to touch anything here, it will be on the oranges on the skin tone, where I can reduce the saturation, and it of course reduces the saturation of the skin tone, leaving the lips, and I can even make her darker or lighter, whichever one I choose to. But in this case, I will just make her a bit darker and turn down the saturation a bit. So something like this is good. Moreover, she's not as dark as this, but nah, I'll leave it that way. So yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Let's just keep going. Onto this one, the color balance. I also don't like touching this, but if I'm to do so, this is how it works. The master touches every color. Of course, the shadow, the three-way has the shadow, midtone, and highlight. So for the shadows, I will only work on the dark areas if I'm making the shadows this way. So I can make the shadows quite bluish, greenish, pinkish, reddish, whatsoever ish I want to make it. And in this case, I might choose to make it like this. Of course, I will turn this off later, but this is just to show you how it works. For midtones, it works on just the midtones. I can make it any color. I don't need that at the moment. And for highlight, you know the drill now. We work on the highlights. So basically, this is how color balancing works on your pictures. But I want my background to still look naturally white, so I will turn off all these effects here. And yeah, now that they are all turned off, for the dehaze, this black and white, by the way, is not on, because if I enable it, it just makes the whole picture black and white. So I don't need to enable that. And it also has split toning, where when you enable the pictures black and white, you can now adjust the hue and saturation of whatsoever you are adjusting it to. So yeah, I can make it look quite greenish for the highlights, and the shadows I can make it look whatever color that is. So we can have this kind of effect when we are doing split toning inside black and white, but you have to enable black and white first of all. So let me disable that, go back to the place I want to be. So in dehaze, it chooses the shadow tone for you. Now it is in automatic, so when I dehaze this, it is going to automatically change to the predominant color it is dehazing from. So I'm reducing the dehaze in it, which is, it is adding more of haze to it. If you don't understand what haze is, it is like a mist or shadow covering something, and if I increase the haze, it removes even more haze out from it. So this is how it looks without any with all the dehaze in the world it can offer, and this is how it looks without any dehaze or taking out any originally. This is it without any dehaze at all, even adding haze to the image. So I will add a little dehaze amount to this, and that makes that. So for the next, I don't like vignettes. If you already watch my videos, you will know I don't like vignettes. So but it just makes the picture quite sorry or something. I don't know, I don't care. Turn that off. Then for the sharpen area, I can choose to sharpen this image even more. Please mind you, don't do this too much. So I will be stopping at 260. Or should I even just leave it that way? 180 is fine. It's already fine as it is already. So let's wait for the picture to load. So yeah, this picture is already fine as it is. But if I want it to even be sharper, I can do that. So now it is even more sharper. And that being said, I'll leave it at 320 so that it doesn't overshoot. And radius talks about how much sharpening you want. If you increase the radius, the sharpening increases. The area that is kind of sharpened increases. If you reduce it, it reduces. As you can see, it's even getting sharper and less sharper. And threshold limits the sharpness. So if I increase this threshold, the sharpness will actually reduce. If I reduce the threshold, the sharpness will increase. And halo suppression is if there are halos. For this case, there are no halos, but if there are things like this and it is more, you can suppress it using halo suppression. In my own case, there is nothing like that, so I leave this image this way. Now that I have everything, I can copy this, and by the way, I can now paste all these effects here. So what does it copy? It copies everything apart from the white balance. How do I know that? When I go to style and once I copy something, adjustment clipboards will show me what I copied here. So the base characteristics is the camera profile, film curve, and mode, which it does not copy. And then it goes ahead to copy everything here. And for the color, it doesn't copy white balance, but it copies color balance, color editor. It doesn't copy these two, advanced and skin tone. And by the way, I didn't enter that. I will show you that shortly, but let me just copy and paste these ones now. So these are the things that it copied: split toning and all that. I didn't do split toning, but if I did, it will copy that setting. That's just what it means. And for the details, sharpen amount and clarity and structure was what was copied. The haze amount was copied, shadow tone was not copied. So that is what is copied into this. And with everything selected, I can click on apply, and it will apply all the adjustments onto the whole images. As you can see, they are changing now. And everything has been copied into this. So this setting, if I go here, it is exactly the same thing, and so on and so on and so on. So everything has been copied into this. All I need now to do is to check the images itself and look for the ones that I need to make any further adjustments on. This one is good, but the face is kind of a bit dull, so I will change that with my Luma. So I will turn this up a little and adjust every other thing as it should. So I think this is fine. Yeah, so this is where the problem is coming from. So it's not a crime to search for where your problem is coming from. So in this case, my problem is coming from here actually. So I will turn this way. So it won't look exactly like this, but it's much better. To even increase it more, I can increase the exposure here as well, or I can just do automatic, but everything will change. So let me leave that for now, and I will increase the exposure here as well too. And go on and on and on. So while I've checked, I will be back soon after checking everything. So see you soon. So now that I'm done working on everything the way I want it, I will be working on the skin tones right now, and I'll be using a picture where I can see more of the skin tone. So something like this is fine, but let's see if I can get more. This is also good. I think I'll go with any picture around here. I'll go with this. And what the heck is this? What is this? I'll be right back, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, I think it has been fixed. So I think that was a memory issue, and all I did was just to close and reopen it. So in case your Capture One does this, just close and reopen it. I don't know why this happens with Capture One, but it's not a big issue. It can be scary. Yeah, imagine telling your client that the picture spoiled though, that your Capture One did something, you don't know what happened. That story is not good to be told. So let's go back to what we are working on. I would work on this image itself. Let's say I want to do skin tone on this image. I will go here and I'll select the skin tone, but in this case I don't want to do this on the skin itself. I want to do it on a different layer. So over here is the background layer. This picture has all been having the effect on the background layer. So I'll click on plus icon to add another layer, and the next thing to do is, if I start working on this layer, as you can see, everything here is all 0, as it should be. For the background, the effects are out there, but for the adjustment layer, it's not there. And whatever you move here, it's going to change one or two things in the image. But why isn't it showing? Because the mask is not inverted. So when I right click and invert mask, it's going to show the effect there. So I can have my adjustment layer to add some extra effect on this image. I can always adjust any other thing I want to adjust on this image. As you can see, this looks good. It kind of eliminates the black a lot. I think I like it. So for the shadows, you can leave it this way, and you can see that it's quite different. I can copy this and add it to this one as well. It adds adjustment layer to all of them, and so it has this extra effect over it, which I can turn off and turn on at will. So if you have two variations of image, I think I can apply this onto all the images as well. So it's unable to apply it on this. I will find out about that. So it applied it to all of them, and for those that already have an adjustment layer, it applied another one. So for that case, I'm just going to get rid of one of them, and that settles that. So I have adjustment layer applied onto all of them, but that's just that for adjustment layer. I can always turn it off at will, like I said before. So for now, I will leave it on, and then we'll go over to skin tone to work on the skin tone. In this case, I'll be adding another adjustment layer to do that for skin tone. I'll use this one for the HDR, and then I can rename it HDR. And then for this one, I will rename it skin tone. Now let me work on this skin tone. So I will zoom in a little, go down to skin tone. You can find skin tone in the color editor, and over here I'll use this eyedropper tool to pick a skin color. As it says, pick a skin color correction. So I will go over here. I like picking on the mid-tones, not on the highlights or on the shadows. So somewhere around here is fine. It's kind of in the middle between the highlight and shadows. So I'll pick that, and this is the color range it gave me. I can reduce this color range or increase it. I can reduce the point or the lightness actually, so, or the smoothness as well, to make it more crisp. So that's all that for color range. So now that the color range is selected and skin tone is on, remember to invert mask. Okay, then you can start applying your skin tone. So I can reduce the hue to make it look a little bit pinkish, or increase it to make it look a little bit yellowish. So that's how to work on that. So in this case, I'll take this way, give it some extra saturation and make it a bit light. I can also make it a bit dark as well, or my choice. And then for the uniformity, I can increase the hue so that the hue will be more uniform all over the picture basically, and the saturation as well. I can increase that to also affect the picture basically, and the lightness. So when we are in here, when we are in the uniformity, we work on how the picture looks overall, and when we are here, we work on how that particular area should look. So whatever this particular area looks like, and you apply it in the uniformity, it's going to spread it more to the whole picture, if that makes sense. Let me repeat myself. Whatever I change here in the hue and all that, the hue is for the amount we'll work on this same particular skin tone, but if I go to uniformity and increase it, it will spread that hue to every area of the picture to make the picture more uniform and have the similar hue. The same with saturation. It's going to apply the saturation on the skin tone, but if I increase it, it's going to apply that amount of saturation with that hue and skin tone color on the rest of the image. That same applies with lightness. I think you should understand it fully by now. So this is high lightness, this is low lightness. So that is it for the skin tone. Others don't have the skin tone. So for this case, that's a skin tone, and that is how it works. Unfortunately, I don't like using the skin tone effect. So off you go. Yeah, so now that I've shown you the skin tone and gotten rid of it because I didn't need it in this picture, I preserved the HDR. Now another way of adding adjustment layers to this, I showed you that you can just click on this plus and add adjustment layer, but you can right click on here and you see new field adjustment layer. This is new empty adjustment layer, which is the one you add by default. So I can say new field adjustment layer, and in this case, whatsoever you do here, without trying to invert mask, it's going to automatically show that effect on your work. So they are basically doing the same thing. So but when you invert it, it's not going to show the effect. So you either use the normal adjustment layer and invert it, or you add a fill adjustment layer and invert it. And of course, whenever you want to get rid of it, you click on the minus button to get rid of it. So now I like this effect on this image. I will apply it onto the rest of these 4 images and leave these ones the way they are. I think they are fine that way, but these ones, they are quite special, so I will give them that extra effect. Moreover, this is too much, so I will reduce the blacks a little, so I'll keep it somewhere around here. And also you can also reduce the opacity of the effect generally, so you can turn down the opacity to 0 or increase it to maximum. So I have this at 67. Let me make it 70 so that it's going to be a round figure, and I will apply that onto the rest of the images. So this will also be 70. Now I think this one is a bit darker, so I'll make it 80 or somewhere around here so that it kind of matches the rest of the, and I'll reduce this ones a little, so I'll reduce the opacity here so it matches that one as well. So this here is 100. Okay, so I think they're all fine now, and the next thing is to crop. So I'll use this crop button, right click and choose my aspect ratio 4:5, of course, and make sure please everything is selected. And when you are cropping, let me add that again. So unconstrained, let me go back to this, sorry, and then I will do the crop again. Everything selected 4:5, so I can crop on this image. Everything is going to have that cropping as well, and click on enter, and then I will select all of them one after the other and do my cropping individually. And now that is all cropped up, everything as I want it, the rest is to export them as pictures, which I will edit in Photoshop. And to export it, you select everything, make sure that everything is selected. For now it is just one is selected, so you press Ctrl A on your keyboard or Command A if you're using a MacBook. And sorry for the Mac users, I hardly always say Command. My apologies. So you press Command or Ctrl A on your keyboard depending on the system you are using, and then you press Command Shift D or Ctrl Shift D, or you can also use that export button I pressed there. So this is the shortcut key, Ctrl Shift D or Command Shift D if you're using a Mac. Now it opens the export dialog box. Let me expand this to fill up the screen, and then this is the setting I used before, and it always saves the previous settings for you. So this is JPEG full size highest quality, but you can always adjust it, and in the adjustment I made it to save in the same folder that the original file is. So same as original file, the folder, and I made it to create a subfolder which is edit, and you can use some presets here, but I don't go there, so I just name it edit. And if there are existing files, I ask it to overwrite. You can add suffix so that you can compare and contrast. Let's say you changed some settings, but you still want to see how the previous setting is compared to the new setting. You can add suffix, or you skip if you don't want it to overwrite that one. But in my own case, overwrite is my option selected. And in the naming, I don't touch this, so it's basically meant to be sample the same format image or image name. And then format and size, my format is JPEG already, as you already see here. And then in the quality, I made it 90%, and resolution 300 pixels per inch, and scale is 2500 pixels for the long edge. So that means that this area is 2500 pixels, here is shorter than 2500 pixels. I can make this 2500 pixels be for the short edge, then that will make this area to be 2500 pixels, and this area will be longer than that. All these affect the file size. So let's say I go to the file size now. This is 2.41 MB, but if I had made it 2500 pixels for the long edge, making the short edge even smaller, this is 1.06 MB. So for this case, let me keep it at long edge so that I'll have more quality and more pixels to work on. Moreover, this picture originally is bigger than 2500 pixels. Yeah, so resolution 3000 pixels, short edge, and also quality also affects the size. Now let's say that the size is 2.41 MB for this particular picture. When I reduce it to, let's say, 80, which is also a good range. Okay, let me keep it at 81 for time's sake. This is now 1.63 MB, so I'll keep it back at 90 to just have that extra quality in it. It's usually good. Some pictures might even be larger than this. Mine is this because I set it to be that way from the start. So this is going to help you in the file sizing, and it will also save you some space actually. Let's say you are battling with pictures that are too heavy, 10 MB. You don't need that, please. Okay, yeah, you don't need it. So this is 90 has not been activated. All right, 90 has been activated now. So yeah, so we have the summary here where you have everything. The full size is the recipe is full size for JPEG and highest quality. The file name will be this. Of course, file name always changes per picture. So the file name will be that. The size is this. So the shorter edge is this, while the longer edge is this for this particular image. But if I go to an image, something like this, you see that the file size, the size is, the shorter edge is this, while the longer edge is this, 3125. But this one is 3775. Okay, so that's just the math we are doing there. And the scale for this is 83. And scale is when you're talking about this pixel size, it's going to give it the scale that it feels is just right as of the short edge and the long edge. So the scales differ depending on the picture. So for here it is 85. It's not dependent on you to choose the scale for the images, 81 and so on. So you get the drill. It changes usually. And then the profile is sRGB, format is JPEG quality 90, and the file size, this is not exactly going to be the file size, but it's going to be approximately 2 megabytes. So whatever you're seeing here is just an approximation of the file size, and when you export it, you'll see that the file size will change or be exactly as you choose, as it will be. I'm getting short of words. These pictures are actually beautiful. They are getting me dumbfounded. I love this particular pose and all these pictures. So exports. And with that, we've come to the end of this video. If you want to see me edit these pictures in Photoshop, make sure that you are subscribed, and if you enjoyed the video, please do well to like, share, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.